Madam Chair, my fellow panelists, Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates to the conference, ladies and gentlemen, and members of the mass media. First of all, on behalf of the Bhutanese delegation, I would like to thank the organizers, particularly the Ministry of Human Resources Development of the Government of India, as well as the UNESCO, for extending this invitation to Bhutan, as well as for the opportunity to participate here. Thank you very much indeed. Esteemed members of the hall, this has to be the longest war in human history. It continues to be waged. It continues to be waged on all fronts, in all continents, across all nations, to a greater or lesser degree. And the signs are that the war will go on in the foreseeable future. It is a poor comment on the most highly evolved of all the species, indeed the masterpiece of all creations. How did we manage to get the way we did in the first place? Did the rain start beating us right from day one of the origin of the human species? Only men and women can sustain a war this long. We've had the Magna Carta, the Bill of Rights, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the conventions, the charters, and protocols of many shade and significance. National constitutions proclaim equality and fair play, freedom and liberty. The International Labour Organization is loud on do's and don'ts. Each year, without fail, the International Women's Day, International Mother's Day, International Children's Day call our attention to the state of the world's women and children and urge action. Even to this day, however, we have not been able to balance the equation, the gender equation that is, and it has made all the difference. So much for the interdependence between the male principle and the female principle, the yin and yang, purush and prakriti, that underlies the great cultures and traditions of the world. Adam saying, "You are the flesh of my flesh, you are the bone of my bone," has made little difference to the Eves. Today is International Literacy Day. We affirm the power of literacy and celebrate the importance of learning. Each one of us here is a beneficiary of the opportunity of learning and know what our lot might have been if the light of learning was shut out to us. This year, we dedicate our International Literacy Day to our mothers, our sisters, our wives, our daughters, our aunts, cousins, nieces, colleagues, the women of the world. It is in the fitness of things, therefore, that we hold this international conference to underscore the centrality of women's literacy for inclusive and sustainable development. It has been a long, long detour, halting and hesitant, often half-hearted, sometimes non-committal. This leaves 70% of the world's 774 million adults illiterate, and these are 70% of the adult illiterates in the world, and these are women. Having gone through a catharsis of sorts, the world seems to be coming to a fast realization that development has to be inclusive, that it has to be sustainable, and that to this end, women have to be taken on board, that they have to be literate, included, and empowered. Then development will be more holistic, harmonious, and humane. Then progress will be fuller and more fulfilling. An exclusive and discriminatory approach can only produce a consequence that is a close cousin to its cause. Superstitions, fallacies, and falsehoods, often patronized to serve vested ends, have played their part in shortchanging the opportunities that could accrue to women and that could liberate them and to take their rightful place in the scheme of the society. The result of these prejudices is that so many centuries of growth and civilization still leave much to be desired, and signs that human development, unaccompanied by women's development, will remain an unfinished business. I rejoice at the world converging on India's capital city to examine the context of development and deliberate on what can make it worthwhile and meaningful. We are looking at development with a human face, an engagement of human genius with something that lasts and something that satisfies the deep yearnings of the soul. Archibald MacLeish, whose maxim has become the UNESCO plea, observed, since wars begin in the minds of men, it is in the minds of men that the best defenses of peace must be constructed. It is plausible that masculine included the feminine in this statement. The state of our world is far from perfect, and human beings being what they are, perfection may continue to be an illusion. Then, this does not mean, however, that we should not aspire for this goal. Indeed, the world has also shown that it is possible with human effort to improve the human lot, that the lot of our species can be improved. The situation of women can and ought to get better, that the human condition must be more dignified. In the course of the day today, that is the half of the day, we have been a witness to the unfolding saga of success in many lands and nations across the globe. Our hearts rejoice and our minds expand in these narratives of success, worthy of acknowledgement by the world body, UNESCO, as we saw in the morning. It is deeply humbling at the same time to see how, with all the limitations imposed by resource constraints, human will and ingenuity have still won the day. It is in the...
Sorry, you have 2 minutes more, so please try to summarize within the 2 minutes.
All right, ma'am, thank you so much. It is in the same desire for upholding the sanctity of life and the preciousness of human beings that my country, the Kingdom of Bhutan, has introduced this holistic concept called gross national happiness. And beginning in the year 2010, we in the Ministry of Education have introduced a nationwide program called Educating for Gross National Happiness. We would like to hope that this new development paradigm that our fourth king of Bhutan introduced will be a call to action, not only for Bhutan, but also for the world beyond. We have in the Constitution of the Kingdom of Bhutan the necessary provisions to safeguard the welfare of all the people, particularly women and children and those of the disadvantaged community. The program that we have in the country called the Non-Formal Education Program that is dedicated particularly to serving the interest of those of our fellow citizens who missed the bus when they were young has been particularly effective. And in the year 2009, the UNESCO Confucius Award was given away to Bhutan for success in the non-formal education program, the chief of which is with me, my colleague, Mr. Sonam Sering. I would like to hope that all the efforts that the government is making at improving the lot of our women, particularly those in the disadvantaged group, will be taken care of with the interventions that we have placed in so far. Studies around the world have shown that women are particularly effective as champions and exemplars of sustainable development. They are supposed to be better at managing the economy, more sensitive about the environment, and more adept at governance. There is much on International Day, ma'am. Just 1 minute.
Thank you very much, Bhutan. Thank you. Thank you. Let's have your last sentence.
On International Literacy Day, ma'am, this August Assembly might do well to reflect on how the saving graces and the positive energy so abundant in the women of the world can be harnessed to greater effect. Much has been said about the biological trap, but there are more deep-seated social, cultural, economic, and above all, attitudinal traps that have done untold damage to the women of the world. That is why what women need is not charity, but opportunity, not condescension, but conviction, not really a rights approach, but a right attitude. The hand that rocks the cradle can still save the world. Thank you, and touch.